One of the changes that I need to make for this through hike attempt is my food issue and my resupply. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to eat more vegetables and maybe some beef and chicken and get some more protein into me, some beans. That's hard to find in markets and Walmart and places that I can stop to in towns along the way. So I got a food dehydrator from Santa Claus. I've never heard of this brand, but it's NutriChef, so we'll see how that works. I've only experimented so far with a bag of frozen vegetables, which I've been putting into this little baggie. That's not the easiest thing, to get all these little things. So one thing is this particular dehydrator only came with these types of trays, and the spaces are too big. When I first put the vegetables on there, they stayed well enough, but as they dried, the corn and everything got so small they dropped through into the bottom of the dehydrator, so that didn't work out well. When I say bottom, it was safe. It was it's just this part here. So I'll just clean that up a little bit. But I learned, and I bought some parchment paper and put that on. I cut it to size. I'm going to cut enough of the parchment to fit all of these trays. I noticed that the corn and the carrots dehydrated really quickly and well, but the green beans were just a little bit bigger in the bag, and I'll probably do it again. I'm going to try rehydrating it and eating it and seeing how it tastes. And if that works, I'll do a few bags like that and divvy them up into little bags and send them to a friend along with meats or whatever else I dehydrate, and ask for maybe once or twice a month for her to just mail me some of the dehydrated food. So the green beans just held on to moisture and took a little longer than the other vegetables in the bag, and going forward I think I'll just cut them in half or something just to make them, you want more surface space, that's what you need in order to get all the moisture out. Right now I'm just scooping up all the dried vegetables, putting it into this bag, and I'll stick it in the freezer. In about a month from now I'll see how much I've been able to dehydrate and send it off to my friend. Okay, so I got a large bag of frozen vegetables, all dehydrated, and into just this little sandwich bag. So I'm going to put this into the freezer, and I'm going to try ground beef next. I've been told that I should add breadcrumbs so that when they're rehydrated at camp, they'll be moister and not be like eating gravel. I have to remember who told me that, and I'll let you know once I figure it out. So I'm going to fry that up first. I'm using the leanest ground beef that I can get. So this one is 93% lean, and I'm going to add some breadcrumbs, and I'm going to fry it up in this pan. Alright, so I just got my little patties in there, and I only bought a small amount because I'm just experimenting, and I'm just going to eyeball the breadcrumbs. I think it's like a half a cup for a pound or something, so I'm just going to use that and mash it all up. I think you all know what mashing up ground beef is like. Ew! Actually, I remembered where I heard this tip from, and it was a YouTube video, so hopefully some of you will, you know, that'll be able to post some more how-to DIY videos, you know, more gear tips and things, so that if you're planning your own through hike, you'll get a little more use out of my videos. But I learned about putting breadcrumbs in the ground beef before dehydrating from Dixie, which is Homemade Wanderlust, and I'll put a link below in the description. She's one of the most popular YouTube bloggers for hiking tips, and yeah, so we'll see if she's right about this one. You want to make sure that the ground beef is chopped up really fine. If you try to dehydrate big chunks like this, it's going to dehydrate and get dried on the outside, but then inside it's still going to hold moisture, which will turn rancid, and you don't want to be eating bad meat out on the trail. That would be a tragedy, that's for sure. So I'm just going to keep stirring this around and chopping it up into pieces, and let you know how it goes. A friend of mine, Halo, whose YouTube channel is Halo Hikes, she also did a video on dehydrating beef. So I'm getting some tips off of her as well, making sure that it's all ground up. I'm gonna just add spices, and this is what Halo had recommended. After I cook it, just gonna keep to the basics. I'm gonna put garlic powder and just some salt and pepper, and that way when it's dehydrated, a lot of the flavor I've heard goes away, you know, after dehydrating, and you know, I just want to make sure that there's a little bit of flavor left. Once this is done cooking, I'm going to pour it all into a strainer and rinse it under hot water in the sink. I want to get rid of as much of the fat as I possibly can so that there's no chance of it going rancid and my getting food poisoning out on the trail. So I'm just going to rinse it with hot water and then put it back in the pan and add some simple spices. All right, now I'm just going to sop up some of the water and anything that's left of the oil, of the fat, so that it's as lean as possible before I put it into the dehydrator. Okay, so I've rinsed this with hot water, and I didn't want to put it back in the pan to add the seasoning, so I just put it in this bowl. I'm going to add some garlic, salt, and pepper. Well, I don't know. I can never have too much garlic. Things are so bland on the trail, so whatever. And some salt and pepper. Alright, so before I put it on the dehydrator, I need to use this one parchment paper, what is it called? A thingy. My son eating his tater tots. And the cat. Adorable hair. That's really great. Anyway, I need to cut out enough of these little parchment paper trays to, you know, to cover each of these so that the ground beef doesn't fall through. Okay, so I've cut parchment to fit just 3 of these trays because there's not a lot of beef. I'll see if that's enough. I'll cut more if I have to, but just want to make sure there's a thin layer on here. So I'm going to try 3 trays. I'm also really trying not to use my hands so much because I want to keep as much bacteria as possible off of this food. I'm just going to spread this in a really thin layer. Use my hand to break up some of the bigger pieces so that it will cook evenly. Alright, and it's as simple as putting the cover on and turning it on. This is in Celsius, so I'm going to put it at, actually I got to double check. I think I put it on 60 Celsius, which is 140 Fahrenheit. So I'm going to put it higher for the meat, but I'm going to actually go check online and research this to see what temperature. I think it's 160, so I'll confirm. I can always change it. Okay, so I just checked with my friend Halo, and she says she puts her ground beef on a dehydrator setting of 165 Fahrenheit, which is 73 Celsius. I can't get to that. I'll probably have to do 70. Oh, mine only goes... It won't go any higher. Well, that stinks. I guess I'm sticking with 70. I hope it's going to work out all right. So I'm just going to let this sit for pretty much the day. It's noon right now, and I'm going to go to work at 2 o'clock, and I'll get home around 9:30 or 10. So that's probably about enough time. I will check. In a couple of hours before I go to work, I'm going to open and just check and crumble it up a little bit and kind of spread it around because it's going to shrink. So yeah, hopefully this is going to work out well, and I'll have lots of yummy food to eat on the trail this next time. More substantial food and less tuna packs and mac and cheese. just checking this before I head off to work, and I'm noticing that the ground beef, it's only been an hour and a half, and it's really drying quickly, much faster than the vegetables had. So I won't be home for another, let's see, at least 6 hours. So I'm going to have my husband maybe keep his eye on this. The bottom rack is actually drying really quickly. So I'm just spreading it out a little bit, just rearranging because the edges are drying faster than the center. And yeah, I'll ask my husband to check it in maybe another 2 hours, and I'll probably be able to turn it off when I get home. I've just gotten home from work and turned this off. So it was about a total of 6 hours, and it's definitely completely dehydrated and shrunk up very good. Ooh, it's like gravel. It's really, really hard, like gravel. There's no way you could eat it like this. Hopefully it will plump up well enough and be scrumptious. Okay, so before I freeze this, I want to actually taste it. So I'm going to cook as if I was on the trail. I've got the hamburger and I've got the vegetables that I dried earlier, and I've popped them in a pan. Just enough water. I boiled water actually in the tea kettle, and I put maybe a 1/4 cup of the beef and even less, maybe 1/8 cup of the vegetables, and then I just put enough water to cover it, and it's already been plumping up and the water's been absorbed. So I'm gonna let it sit. I just have it on low as if I were at camp, and just let it simmer for about 15 minutes or so, and then I'm gonna add instant mashed potatoes, and kind of like a shepherd's pie, only with mixed vegetables instead of just corn. Although what I'd like is some brown gravy to add to it. I'm gonna check my cupboards and see if I have any of that. I don't. I was talking about the little envelopes of the powdered, dried gravy that I would just sprinkle in there. That may have added some flavor, but I don't. But I'll buy one and I'll try it another time. So I'm just gonna let this sit for about 15-20 minutes, and add some instant potatoes and see how that turns out for a camp dinner in the future. I'm really on a roll. I am going to try to dehydrate some baked beans. Let's see how that will turn out. Okay, I drained it. I didn't rinse it with water. I have no idea how to do beans, but I'm not going to put this little piece of bacon in because that's fat, and we want to make sure that we get as much of the fat off as possible. I don't think these are going to be really fatty. We'll find out. It says 98% fat free. But I'm going to definitely take this little piece of bacon out. Let's see how well this is going to dry out. So I'm just going to spread this out on a little single layer on the dehydrator, and probably leave it overnight. It's 9 o'clock at night, so I'll check it in the morning when I wake up. Interesting concept. Maybe I'll be the best fed hiker on the trail this year. Well, that can of beans only needed 2 layers. And I'm not sure what temperature, so I'm going to go ask Siri. In the meantime, I've got my leftover instant potatoes from my hike this year, and I'm just going to add, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 cup or something, and add some more water and let that plump up and see if that turns into some type of delectable feast. Looks good. Alright, so I've just added, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 cup of potatoes, and I just added some water to get those to plump up. Alright, so if you're not a hiker, you might think that this is disgusting looking, but anyone who spends time out there will realize how delicious this actually looks. Okay, taste test. I tried to get a bite that has everything: potato, beef, corn, carrots, and the green beans, to make sure everything has rehydrated properly. Here comes the test. Okay, everything rehydrated. I'm not a fan of instant potatoes, but that's tastes just like instant potatoes, so it is what it is. But that's actually really good. Oh my goodness, that's what's for dinner tonight, because I can't re-dehydrate that. But it is what it is. That recipe came out really good. I think I just do need that powdered brown gravy, which would give it a little more flavor. I'm now dehydrating the baked beans. And yeah, I think this is gonna work out really well. I'm so excited.